Yo guys, Paunchy here, and today we're going to learn how to use our arpeggiators on our Analog 4 Mark II. Let's go! Alright guys, so to get to the arpeggiator, go ahead and hit ARP. Bam! Arpeggiator. I'm using the standard issue bass preset. Sounds like this. It's a pretty nice bass sound. Let's just go through each one of the settings. So the first setting controls whether it's on or off, basically. THR, that basically plays them in the order that you play the notes. So if you go C, E, G, then it's going to play them in the order that you played it. C, E, G. Okay. Up is pretty self-explanatory. Goes up. No matter what order you press it in, it'll go up. So even if I press them going down. Okay. Down, also self-explanatory, goes straight down. Okay, now cycle. That one plays them in ascending order and then it goes in descending order. So if you listen to it, okay. Now SHU, it's basically a random, I guess you could look at it as kind of like a shuffle, but the thing about the difference between this one and random is that it randomizes them per octave. So if you have we haven't gotten to this yet, but if you have your RNG set to multiple octaves, it'll randomize the notes in one octave before moving to the next octave, and then that octave will be random as well, so it'll be different. RAN, that's random, so no matter how many octaves you have, it'll play at random. So right now I have mine set to 3 octaves. And you can hear that there's a clear difference between the randomization of each octave. So, and then POL is a very interesting one because that stands for polyphony. Basically, in order for that to work, you have to have polyphony on. So make sure you check out my video on polyphony if you're interested in learning how that works. But for the demonstration purposes here, I'm going to turn on polyphony. Well, let's do this a little higher. So you might ask yourself, like, how is that different than what the arpeggiator already does? Normally the arpeggiator, an arpeggio by nature is playing each note of a chord individually, whereas with this, it's actually playing the whole chord at the same time. So, and then you can, using the octave setting, you can have the chord change into multiple octaves like you hear here. That's a C minor chord being played in 3 different octaves. So those are the different modes you have. SPD, that refers to speed. So when we're talking about speed, if you have it set to 6 right here, that basically means 16th notes. Like I always say, just go by ear. It's not that you have to memorize these actual numbers or what exactly times 6 means. Just memorize how they sound, and if you don't like the sound, then change it. So the bigger the number get, essentially the slower the arpeggio. And then of course the smaller the number gets, faster. RNG, that refers to the octave. So however many octaves you want your arpeggio to play, that's how you control it. So if we just play a one-note arpeggio, that's taking the C note and playing it over 3 octaves. Length and legato, they directly control the length, how long each note rings out on your arpeggio. It depends whether you record it in live mode. If you record this in live recording mode, then the length is automatically set by however long you hold the chord. So if I just want the length to be like half of the pattern here, then I would just hold it for that. I started the arpeggio a little early, but that's okay. So LEN and LEG are basically for controlling the length without recording it in live mode. So if you're just laying trigs, you know, say you hold that, you can use length to control the length of the arpeggio, of each note specifically. Now legato is better used when you have more trigs laid. So again, it's not so much memorizing what all of these do per se, like on a technical level, just memorize how they sound. So if you're not happy with the lengths of your arpeggios, of the notes in the arpeggio, then you probably need to adjust your length or legato setting. So keep that in mind. For me personally, I just record my arpeggios in live mode. You know, so I'll go ahead and get it recording there and then, you know, hit my chords and hold them for as long as I want them. Interestingly, here we have NO2, NO3, and NO4. That stands for note. So what you can do here with that is, so say you lay a trig here and it's just a C. Okay. Well, let's change it to an F for these purposes. So if we play it, it's just that one note. But if you want to take that trig and parameter lock it and change the notes that it's in its arpeggio, then that's what you use NO2, NO3, and NO4 for. So if you hold down the note that you set, the trig, you can use NO2 to add a different note to that arpeggio. Because as of right now, it was only one note. So now that we've parameter locked it 5 semitones, you'll have the original note that you did and then the note of 5 semitones higher. You can also go lower too. So let's try that. And also let's turn the octaves down. We'll just keep it in 1 octave so you can clearly hear what's going on. So that's the equivalent of doing this. Except the arpeggio is doing it for you automatically, which is of course the power of the arpeggio. So you'll notice that we only have it in 1 octave, yet it's still playing multiple notes. Because if it was in 1 octave and you just played it normally, it would still just be that one note. But in reality, what we've done here is this. So that's another way of setting that without having to record it live. You know, like I said, personally, I like to record these arpeggios live, but sometimes that's not always the easiest thing to do because of the 1 octave that you have here. You know, the only way around that would be to hook up a MIDI keyboard to your Analog 4, which of course is super easy. But yeah, so that's how that's how you use the note offset here. If we go to setup, let's get an arpeggio going here. Now this is another thing too. If you're not already aware, you can hold the trigs and press a chord, and then you can see that all those notes are lit up now. So when we play the arpeggio, it's going to play that chord that I laid out there. Okay, so that's a really interesting thing. So say you want to lay a bunch of chords, you know, you can do that here. Okay, let's try that. Now if we go to function and arp, you go to the arpeggio setup. So this section is interesting because you can control the length of the arpeggio using encoder E right here. So say we want our arpeggio to be 8 steps long. So what you can do here is offset the notes using encoder J. So if you want this note to be higher, this note to be lower. Let's see. So that's just another way of controlling more things about your arpeggio. So those are all the settings. You know, with all of those, you can craft insane arpeggios. You know, you can control the lengths, you can control the offset of different notes. I hope that helps you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.